In today's video, we're going to be running a NHL Draft Lottery simulation through Tankathon.com and completing a mock draft for the top 15 selections. We'll jump into the Draft Lottery simulation coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're going to be running a draft lottery simulation through Tankathon.com and completing a mock draft for the top 15 draft selections. Now, first of all, before we jump into the mock draft, let's run the draft lottery simulator. So we're going to hop onto the computer and record the simulation here live on Tankathon.com, then we'll complete the top 15 picks. All right, so here we are on Tankathon.com. We have it all ready to roll here. So we're going to click the simulation and see how things turn out for the top 3 picks in the lottery. And of course, that'll determine the rest of the order all the way of picks down through 15, which we'll conduct for the draft. So now that we're all set, let's go ahead and run the simulation and see how it turns out. There we are. We have the simulation results. The Detroit Red Wings were the winners of the draft lottery for the top spot. The Minnesota Wild moved up 9 spots to number 2. The Arizona Coyotes moved up 7 spots to number 3. Now that pick normally was traded, that was going to the New Jersey Devils, but that pick is top 3 protected. So in this actual lottery simulation result, Arizona would actually end up keeping their pick. And of course, Ottawa gets picks 4 and 5. LA gets pick 6. The Ducks go number 7, followed by the Devils, Sabres, Habs, Hawks, Jets, Rangers, Panthers, and Blue Jackets. So now let's dive in here and complete a mock draft for picks 1 through 15. So of course, as we mentioned here, the Detroit Red Wings have the first overall selection in this simulation, and I have no doubt they would take top overall rated prospect Alexis Lafreniere, who's been the consensus number 1 pick for quite some time. Of course, he can dominate a game. He can take over the game. He very well could be a very franchise-defining player for Detroit. Obviously, any team who gets fortunate enough to draft Lafreniere is going to be in a much better situation. I do think he's one of the few players who can make the jump directly to the NHL and have an immediate impact and become a franchise player for the team that drafts him. The second overall selection, the Minnesota Wild will take Quinton Byfield. There's no doubt about it. That's who they will select here. Byfield can be the franchise-altering center iceman and top 6 forward they've been looking for quite some time. Of course, he's got the size and strength of an NHL player already at 6'4", 215 pounds. He's one of the younger players in the draft, hasn't quite turned 18 years of age as of yet. He won't do that until August. But Byfield, I do think he probably needs another year in junior, even though he has the potential to be a franchise-altering player and a franchise center iceman to build around. I think another year in junior would do him a world of good and really give him a big boost coming into the NHL as a rookie, maybe the year after. But the Wild have been desperately looking for a player like him, and he's exactly what they need to help move their team forward. Next up at number 3, we have the Arizona Coyotes, who were very fortunate in the simulation, moved up 7 spots, and I had them selecting the top D-man of the draft, Jamie Drysdale, the OHL's Erie Otters. Now, I think this is a great selection personally for the Coyotes. They are a very solid defensive team, great goaltending, but they've really had a hard time scoring. And what better way to give your offense a big boost in the arm here than to have one of the top offensive defensemen in the last few years jump into your lineup? Right now, the Coyotes have a top defenseman in Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They drafted Victor Soderstrom last year. But given the age of Ekman-Larsson, you get Soderstrom and then Drysdale as potentially being your top 2 defensemen for the team for the foreseeable future. Really helps put this team in much better hands to create the offense from the back end to help this team get going here in a better direction. Next up at number 4, we have the Ottawa Senators using the pick they acquired from the San Jose Sharks in the Carlson trade. And I have them selecting German-born forward Tim Stutzle, who's been one of the big risers in this year's draft rankings as the year has gone on. He's obviously, like I mentioned, he has great speed here. He's got great quickness. He's a natural center, but often plays the wing as well. Has a tremendous offensive upside, and I think Stutzle would be a tremendous addition to the current crop of Sens forwards. And where they have 2 picks here back-to-back, I certainly think they have the options here to take a number of players. But I think with Stutzle falling to number 4, with Drysdale going to the Coyotes, I think he's too good of a player for them to pass up. Picking back-to-back here, number 5, the Ottawa Senators would then select from the Ottawa 67s, Marco Rossi, who's a smaller center iceman, originally born in Austria, had a tremendous year in the OHL for the Ottawa 67s. Of course, the Ottawa Senators have shown in the past that they've taken many players who were European-born but played their junior hockey in Canada in the CHL. He's a very smart player, tremendous playmaker, has the ability to finish as well. And like his counterpart here that went at number 4, Tim Stutzle, Rossi's another player who had his draft stock rise tremendously throughout this year as he put together a really solid draft campaign. And I think it's just too good of an opportunity here for the Senators to pass up. Number 6 selection is the Los Angeles Kings, and I have them select a Swedish-born forward, Lucas Raymond. Now, Raymond's certainly a player. If you take a look around the different draft rankings around the NHL and all the different systems, he's kind of all over the place a little bit. Lucas Raymond, though, overall is a really solid hockey player, even though he didn't have a tremendous draft campaign. A little bit of a down year, but he's a very well-rounded player. He can score. He's exceptional in the hockey sense department. He's got great speed, terrific hands, really strong defensively, tough to play against. And I think he'd be a tremendous addition to the Kings group of prospects. They have one of the deeper prospect pools around the NHL, but this is a very different kind of player who I feel would complement that system here very well and fit in with the other prospects to help to guide this Kings team into the future. The next selection belongs to the Anaheim Ducks, and I have them taking another Swede here, Alexander HOLTZ. HOLTZ is a very skilled offensive player, one of the better true goal scorers in this NHL draft. He has an impressive shot. He's got great vision. If he does have any kind of a weakness, it would be his skating a little bit. I know it would be nice to see him be a little bit more explosive to be able to create a little bit more time and space. But overall, I think HOLTZ is going to be a tremendous hockey player. I think the Ducks have a lot of perspective. Center iceman already in their prospect pool. To add a solid winger who can score like HOLTZ in their system would be a tremendous addition. Next up at number 8, we have the New Jersey Devils. I think the Devils are going to select the top goalie in the draft, Russian goalie YAROSLAVASKAROV. Now, I've had Askarov going to the Devils in other mock drafts before, and I just have this gut feeling that that is where he is going to end up. But I do think it would be a wise move for the Devils to take him. If you look at all these teams that are picking in the top 10, I think the Devils make one of the most sense here in order to select the goalie with a high pick. I mean, obviously the Red Wings would be another great selection, but you know they're not going to pass up on Alexis Lafreniere and amongst the other teams. I just think the Devils are a great selection. I mean, Mackenzie Blackwood has a lot of potential, great young goalie, but Askarov could be a franchise-altering kind of player. Likely would stay over play in Russia for a couple of years and could come over like his counterparts, like we've seen with guys like Igor Shesterkin, Ilya Sorokin. Hopefully he doesn't take as long as Sorokin to come over if he does go to the Devils for their sake. A guy like Mackenzie Blackwood there allows them to be patient with a guy like Askarov while they're waiting for him to come over. And of course, they've already got a lot of other elite young prospect forwards in their system as well. So I think this is a great opportunity for them to roll the dice on a potential franchise-altering goalie. Next up, we have the Buffalo Sabres, and I have them selecting center iceman from the OHL, Cole Perfetti. Now, the Sabres desperately could use some more help at center ice. They got Jack Eichel, who's a tremendous hockey player, and they don't have a lot of help behind him. One of their top prospects from last year, Dylan Cousins, could turn out to be that number 2 center, but he very well looks like he might become a winger at the NHL level, so they need some more reinforcements there. And Perfetti's a guy who could certainly fit that mold. He's a tremendously gifted offensive forward. He has got a tremendous shot. He's a shot-first center iceman, and I think would complement the Sabres team very well. He's likely going to need a little bit of time this season here before they get him in the NHL level, but with having other players in their system like Casey Middlestat not really showing that potential just yet, I think they need to take a great center here. And at this stage of the draft, Perfetti is the top guy remaining in my opinion. Selecting 10th overall, we have the Montreal Canadiens, and I have them selecting Finnish-born forward Anton Lundell. Now, I think at this point, Lundell would be a steal at number 10. He certainly had an up-and-down kind of season and battled some injuries early on, but really overall, Lundell is a solid hockey player. He is certainly one of the better, if not one of the best, defensive forwards in this draft. He's got a really well-rounded skill set. He's got great vision, good puck handler, great passer, can play in all situations. Even if he only ends up being that middle 6 center iceman who can kill penalties, pitching on the offense, and be really hard to play against, which I think he can be that, and maybe even a little bit more. I think he'd be a tremendous fit and would give the Habs something that they currently lack right now in their lineup. At number 11, we have the Chicago Blackhawks, and I have them selecting forward Dawson Mercer from the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Dawson Mercer is another player who has driven his stock up a lot this year. One of the better offensively gifted forwards in this draft. Mercer had a tremendous season overall. Originally born in Newfoundland, played his hockey in Quebec, and Mercer is a player I think would fit nicely with the Blackhawks system. Obviously, at this point, the Hawks are another team I think would consider taking the goalie Askarov, but he's off the board. They got lots of great defensemen already in their system. They really could use another forward like this in their system here to kind of add another offensive punch, and Mercer, I think, is the perfect player for that role. At number 12 overall, we have the Winnipeg Jets, and I have the Jets selecting the second best defenseman in the draft, in my opinion, American-born D-man Jake Sanderson. Now, Jake Sanderson's a second-generation NHL player. His father, Jeff Sanderson, played in the NHL for quite some time. Sanderson's a guy who's not overly flashy, but does a lot of the little things well. I think he can play solidly at both ends of the ice. And given the fact that the Jets have really basically had to rebuild their blue line, I think he'd be a tremendous fit. The only issue here, I guess, is that Sanderson's likely going to be a couple years away. He is going to play college hockey, and they might have to wait a couple years for him. But given the fact that they are already so deep at the forward position, they have a great goalie in Hellebuck, I think it only makes sense to focus on the defense. And to me, I think he's worth waiting for to get him in their lineup. Next up at 13 overall, we have the New York Rangers, and I have them selecting from the Western Hockey League, Seth Jarvis. Now, Jarvis had a tremendous offensive season in the Western Hockey League. Now, if you take a look around the draft rankings, there's several draft ranking places that have him ranked much lower than this, but I think he's a tremendous offensively talented player who really has earned his opportunity to go higher in the draft. The Rangers are a team that's been known the last number of years going off the board, and I think he'd be a great fit and give them a unique kind of player that they don't really have a lot of right now in their system. They have a lot of great young players, but I just think he is the kind of player based on what's available here that would fit best with what they have going on. 14 overall, we have the Florida Panthers. Now, the Panthers I have selecting Dylan Holloway, center iceman from the NCAA. Holloway is a player who's going to play for the University of Wisconsin, likely for another 1 or 2 more years. He originally is Canadian-born from Calgary, Alberta. He put up some pretty solid numbers early on in his season this year before the season was unfortunately come to a halt here due to the pandemic. But Holloway is a kind of player I think could fit well with Florida. They have a pretty deep forward group already. They have a lot of other prospects that are would be certainly ranked higher ahead of them here in the system. And they can be one of the teams I think that can afford to be patient and wait for him for a few years while he finishes his college hockey career. Next up, 15th overall, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I have them selecting Jack Quinn from the Ottawa 67s. Now, Quinn's another player who's kind of, depending on what system you look at for draft rankings, he's going to be a little higher on some, a little lower on others, but overall, he had a tremendous year in Ottawa. The team was really strong. Of course, he played a lot with other draftee here, Marco Rossi, but Jack Quinn's one of the best pure goal scorers in this draft class, has the potential to be a pure sniper at the NHL level. Hard to say what level he'll actually hit, but given the state of the Columbus Blue Jackets, they have a really solid blue line. They got some interesting goalies in their system. They really could use a goal-scoring type of forward, and based on what's left here, it only makes sense that if Jack Quinn's available at 15, they have no choice but to take him here. I think he would be the best player available at this position, and not only best player, but it suits their team needs as well. So I have Jack Quinn going to the Blue Jackets at 15. So those are your top 15 selections in this 2020 NHL Draft. So of course, as always, we'll know your thoughts and opinions on all these selections here today. Make sure you leave me your comments down below and we can discuss further in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.